What I love about music and writing music is that it costs a lot. It takes a lot. I have to put a lot of myself into it. It starts as this very personal, reclusive art form that you're doing kind of in a vacuum. But then I get to say to my friends, hey, do you want to come and make music together? Can we record it together? It's going to be paired with a story. We hope that that story, the film, means something to the people that watch that film. It's a very communal process, and that thrills me. I think to come together as a community and make music for a project about Dan's life just feels appropriate on every level. My name's Scott Stevens.
My name is Jared Callahan, and we're making a movie about Dan Nelson. Thanks so much for coming in on a Saturday. It just means the world to me. It's fun that I knew Dan through completely not music circles, and so I get to be making this film and the movie about Dan's life from a different perspective. Dan and I served on staff together at San Diego First Church. So I was the youth pastor there. Dan Nelson taught music here at PLNU for 19 years. It's been 9 years since Dan died, and we've had these 85 hours of original footage of Dan's life, where he really invited us really honestly and transparently into the end of his life and the suffering that he endured at the end due to ALS. So what you're doing will go into this teaser, we're gonna put it out. And so we're gathered today to record original music for this movie trailer that we've edited together.
What's so interesting about the group of musicians that's come together is that it's both alumni and current students. And I think it's significant that you have alumni taught by Dan coming back, showing current students that are helping us out, hey, I was shaped and I seasoned in this environment.
All right. The things you need to know are that it's just completely rough. It's not colored, it's not mixed, and the music with you. That's the reason so many people want to be a part of this project, is because Dan's life is inspiring. Here you go. Definitely the way that Dan responded and lived his life to the fullest in spite of the hurdles that he faced is really what interests me. I was drawn to Dan because he's so honest.
I have Parkinson's.
You knew where you stood with Dan. I just really liked his perspective. I mean, he would see things kind of from a 10,000 foot view and see the ways that systems were moving, and then he really valued the people in those systems.
Dan loved to expose people to hard ideas because he cared a lot about the formation of the students. It's beyond music.
My diagnosis is change.
He wanted to make sure that your spiritual compass was set in a good direction. For Dan, vocation and faith, it was a marriage. They weren't separate. And I think for us to think of those things as separate is to really miss out on a lot of partnership that we can have with the Holy Spirit and the disciplines that we work in.
This is my theology wrapped up in a nutshell. You don't get to choose what happens to you. You get to choose how you respond to it.
Dan cared very much that you played the correct note, but he also cared about being a person that can contribute to a community.
Let's go in, we'll rehearse a little bit, but more than anything, just thank you for being here. This is not a normal ensemble. It's more. This is a fellowship of people coming together to honor Dan. When I decided that I wanted to be a film composer, thankfully I had people tell me this was going to be a long road. There's lots of times that I could have said this is too hard and just thrown it all down. But as a student who came through Point Loma, what I learned was it's not just what you do, it's the spirit with which you do it. When Dan faced a diagnosis of ALS, that's a pretty big diagnosis, but he decided to say, okay, that's what I have, it doesn't define me. I can still do what I feel like I was made to do, even if physically that becomes way more difficult. Let's take it from the top. It reminds me that what I'm doing vocationally is more than just writing music. I think a lot of times we get so bogged down in the details that we forget to love the process and love the people involved in the process. At Point Loma, the community is going to be one that you're not going to forget because it's so formational. Okay, cool. There was never a moment where I doubted that I was cared for, and I know from accounts of my peers, from my own experience, that shaped them beyond just an education, that equipped them to go out into the world, because how much confidence do you have when you know that you're loved, when you know that you have a community that is firm and for you and wishes and wills the absolute good in your life?
And in turn, it makes you better at what you do. The relationships that we have with the people that we went to school with or that we do work with, those last a lifetime. And so they inform what I do because I get to work with someone as talented as Scott or the musicians that we have gathering to work on this film. If I had tried to make this film 10 years ago, it would have been a film about disease. It would have been a film about ALS and the process of dying. But over the last 10 years, with my faith, my experience in my professional career, being single, being married, having our first kid recently, I'm thinking thoughts about purpose and parenthood and identity. The film now for me is about all of those things. It's about living life to the fullest and what does it mean to leave a legacy and how are we impacting our communities and how are we playing the hand that we're dealt. For me, you just can't separate all the different pieces of who I am and the stories that we're gonna make. They inform each other. And your faith can inform the way that you tell stories or make music. Your faith influences the way that you are a partner or a parent, and vice versa. In this story, we have this very alive spirit that moves, that loves, that cares, that really is like transcends this body that we are watching wither. As his body starts to fail, the spirit, the people around him, lifts and moves and guides him.
Fantastic.
The spirit of Point Loma is community, and you realize that your identity isn't just in your skill,
Chaz, you're good on your end?
but in who you are and what you bring to the
We're all
whole.
set. Okay, cool. Visual confirmation.
All right. It's one thing for me to write music for a movie.
We are rolling.
It's another thing for me to write music and care about who's going to be involved, be selective about who do I want to involve with this, who do I have a relationship with, who could I form a relationship with, and then it becomes a communal thing. It takes on a greater significance than it would have if it just stayed with me.